Imagine this. It's the mid-19th century in Ethiopia. A young prince named Saleh Mariam is born. This isn't just any prince. He is destined for greatness, but his path is anything but easy. As a boy, he was taken prisoner by Emperor Tewodros II. Now, being a royal prisoner sounds fancy, but it's still prison, right? For 10 years, he lived under the emperor's watch. But Menelik, as he would later be called, was smart. He wasn't just sitting around, he was watching. He was learning about power, about politics, and about how a ruler should and shouldn't act. He saw firsthand the challenges of uniting a country as diverse and proud as Ethiopia. This experience wasn't a setback, it was his education in the real world of leadership. So how do you go from prisoner to king? You plan an escape, of course. And Menelik did just that. He slipped away from his captors and returned to his home region of Shiwa. The people there welcomed him with open arms. He was their rightful ruler, and he quickly reclaimed his throne as king of Shiwa. But being a regional king wasn't his final destination. Menelik had bigger dreams. He wanted to unite all of Ethiopia under one banner, just as the great emperors of the past had done. He spent years building his power base, making smart alliances, and showing other leaders that he was a force to be reckoned with. He was patient, strategic, and always kept his eye on the ultimate prize. Becoming the emperor of all Ethiopia was the next logical step. When Emperor Johannes IV died in battle in 1889, Menelik saw his moment. He had the support, he had the army, and he had the vision. He proclaimed himself Negusa Nagast, the King of Kings, Emperor of Ethiopia. This wasn't just a power grab, it was the culmination of a lifetime of preparation. He moved the capital to a new city he founded, Addis Ababa, which means new flower. From here, he began a massive project of modernization. He wanted to build schools, hospitals, and railways. He wanted to bring Ethiopia into the modern world, but on his own terms, not someone else's. Menelik understood that to be a strong nation, you needed more than just a strong army. You needed a unified people. He worked tirelessly to bring the different regions and ethnic groups of Ethiopia together. It was a tough job. Think of it like trying to get your entire extended family to agree on what to watch on TV. It's nearly impossible. But Menelik used diplomacy, marriage alliances, and sometimes force to create a more cohesive state. He respected the diverse traditions of his people, but insisted on a shared national identity. This unity would soon be tested in the most dramatic way imaginable, as a new threat was gathering on the horizon, one that came from across the sea. Now, let's talk about Europe in the late 19th century. It was a time called the Scramble for Africa. European powers were carving up the continent like it was a giant pizza, and everyone wanted a slice. Italy was a new player in this colonial game, and they were hungry. They looked at the map and saw Ethiopia, one of the last independent nations, and thought, that one. We'll take that one. They saw a land rich in history and resources, and they wanted to add it to their growing empire. So they came not with an invading army at first, but with a piece of paper, a treaty, a very, very sneaky piece of paper. This was the Treaty of Wuchal, signed in 1889 between Italy and Emperor Menelik II. On the surface, it looked like a standard friendship agreement. It talked about trade, cooperation, and mutual respect. Menelik, who was keen on modernizing his country, saw potential benefits in having a European ally. The treaty was written in two languages, Amharic, the language of Ethiopia, and Italian. And this, my friends, is where the drama begins. It's like when you sign up for a new phone plan and don't read the tiny print. The two versions of the treaty said two completely different things. It was the ultimate case of being lost in translation, except this translation was intentional. In the Amharic version, Article 17 said that Menelik could use the Italian government to conduct his foreign affairs if he wanted to. It was an option, a choice. It was like saying, hey, if you need a wingman for your international diplomacy, we're here for you. But the Italian version was different. Oh, it was very different. The Italian version of Article 17 said that Menelik must conduct all his foreign affairs through Italy. This wasn't an option, it was an obligation. This little change in wording turned Ethiopia from an independent nation into a protectorate of Italy, at least on paper. The Italians basically tried to trick an entire country into becoming their colony. When Menelik found out about this deception, he was furious. Can you imagine? It's the ultimate betrayal. He had signed a treaty of friendship, but Italy used it to claim Ethiopia as their own. Menelik wrote letters to other European leaders, explaining the situation and pointing out the two different texts. He declared, "Ethiopia has need of no one. She stretches out her hands unto God." He was making it clear, we are not for sale, and we will not be tricked. He officially rejected the treaty, and in doing so, he threw down a challenge to Italy. The message was simple. If you want our land, you will have to come and take it. And so, the stage was set for a historic confrontation. So, Italy was not happy. Their sneaky plan had failed, and their pride was wounded. They decided to teach Menelik a lesson. They believed their modern army, with its advanced rifles and cannons, would easily crush the Ethiopian forces. They saw the Ethiopians as disorganized and poorly equipped. It was a classic case of underestimating your opponent. The Italian government sent General Oreste Baratieri with a force of about 17,000 soldiers into Ethiopian territory. They were confident, maybe a little too confident. They expected a quick and easy victory that would secure their colonial ambitions and restore their national honor. They were about to get the surprise of their lives. Menelik was not sitting idle. He was a brilliant strategist. He knew the land like the back of his hand. He also knew his people. He issued a mobilization proclamation that stirred the heart of every Ethiopian. "He who is strong, give me your strength, and he who is weak, give me your prayers," he declared. And the people answered. From all corners of the vast empire, a massive army gathered. We're talking about 100,000 soldiers, united by a common cause. They were armed not just with spears and shields, but also with modern rifles that Menelik had been cleverly buying from the Russians and the French for years. The final showdown happened on March 1st, 1896, near a town called Adwa. The Italian general, running low on supplies and pressured from Rome to attack, made a fatal mistake. He ordered his troops to advance at night through unfamiliar, mountainous terrain. His forces got lost, separated, and completely disorganized. Menelik and his commanders, including the brilliant Empress Teitu Betul, were waiting. They knew the mountains, they knew the valleys, and they knew exactly where the Italians were stumbling. As the sun rose, the Ethiopian army unleashed a massive, coordinated attack on the divided Italian columns at Adwa. It was a masterclass in using local knowledge to your advantage. The Battle of Adwa was a decisive and overwhelming victory for Ethiopia. The Italian army was completely routed. It was a stunning defeat for a European colonial power. The Ethiopians fought with incredible courage and determination, fueled by a desire to protect their freedom and their faith. They captured thousands of Italian soldiers and all of their artillery. News of the victory spread like wildfire across the world. It was a powerful message. It showed that an African nation, through unity, smart leadership, and sheer will, could defeat a modern European army. The battle wasn't just a military victory, it was a victory for the spirit of independence. The aftermath of the Battle of Adwa was huge. Italy was forced to sign a new treaty, the Treaty of Addis Ababa, which officially recognized the absolute independence of Ethiopia. They had to abandon their claim of making Ethiopia a protectorate. This was unheard of at the time. While the rest of Africa was being colonized, Ethiopia stood tall and free, a sovereign nation that had successfully defended its borders. Menelik's victory sent shockwaves through the colonial capitals of Europe. It shattered the myth of European invincibility and proved that African resistance was not futile. For the first time, a European nation was forced to respect an African nation's sovereignty. Menelik's victory had a profound impact far beyond Ethiopia's borders. It became a beacon of hope for black people all over the world. In the Caribbean, in the United States, and across colonized Africa, the story of Adwa inspired a new sense of pride and possibility. It fueled early Pan-African movements and gave leaders and activists a powerful example of successful resistance. Ethiopia became a symbol, a real-life Wakanda, if you will. It was proof that independence was not just a dream, but an achievable reality. Menelik II was celebrated as a hero, a black king who had defeated a white empire and preserved his people's dignity and freedom. After securing his nation's independence, Menelik continued his work of modernization. He introduced Ethiopia's first modern bank, its first hospital, and began the construction of a railway line to connect his capital to the sea. He wanted to build a strong, stable, and prosperous nation that could stand on its own 2 feet in the modern world. His reign was a careful balancing act between embracing new technologies and preserving Ethiopia's ancient traditions and culture. He laid the foundation for the modern Ethiopian state, ensuring it had the tools to navigate the complex politics of the 20th century while holding on to its unique identity. Emperor Menelik II's legacy is immense. He is remembered as one of the greatest leaders in African history. He was a unifier, a modernizer, and most importantly, a defender of freedom. In a period when colonialism seemed unstoppable, he showed the world that with courage, unity, and brilliant leadership, the impossible could be achieved. He secured Ethiopia's place in history as the only African nation to successfully resist European colonization during the scramble for Africa. His story is not just about a single battle, it's about the enduring power of a people determined to remain free. He remains a powerful symbol of African pride and independence to this day.